Anyone not get to share?
I think Ryan was just about to finish, well, close to finishing our group.
Ryan, did you want to finish, mate?
Yeah, no, that's all good, man. It was just rather abrupt. I was right in the halfway through a sentence and it just suddenly went. But I was almost there. It was fine.
Sorry about it. I'll pass the blame and say I'm a newbie at Zoom. Was there anyone else that didn't get to share?
Yeah, you've only had 12 months practice, Lockie.
Mate, I've had more than 12 months practice. I'll give you that hot tip. Been using Zoom since before it was Zoom.
Right.
But guys, today what we want to go through, I'll share this. Did everyone get through obviously writing a letter to their dad, whether here or not? Get to give that a crack. Who's going? See you, Jezza.
Hey, boys.
Yeah.
See you, mate.
Have a good day.
You too. Enjoy.
Whether here or not. Yeah, anyone give that a crack?
I didn't get a chance to watch the video last week, but I've got to do it this weekend and get onto that straight away.
Yeah, all good.
Mate, I must have missed that. I actually must have missed that, to be honest, that part of it.
That's all good.
But I'm definitely keen to do something like that, whatever it was, because it's always good touching base. Yeah,
for future reference, guys, it'll always be on the recording. When you see the recording, if you go down the bottom, it'll say weekly task. And once again, if you feel it would add value to you, do it. If you don't do it. Like, it's that simple. It's not you have to do it. This isn't school. This is just providing extra stuff that you may or may not get value from, depending on where you're at.
I struggle with the Lockie to try because I couldn't find anything to be really grateful for. Because I tried to be everything my father's not.
Yep.
Yep, I saw it yesterday and I just didn't feel like doing it. I'm like, I'm gonna pass.
I mixed it up a little bit and wrote it to myself as a dad.
Yeah, cool.
Kind of like, not a reminder, but why I became a dad, and make sure that in 3 years' time, if I decide to open that letter, it's it puts me back on track and make sure I'm doing everything for the right reasons.
Yep. And the reason, once again, why we chose to do that task was because some of us have awesome relationships with our dads. Some of us don't, have the complete fucking opposite.
Yep.
Righto. But I know, as we spoke about last week, a lot of you guys are dads. Some of, there's a huge amount of lads in this group who have just become or are becoming dads. And then there's people like myself who have fucking no shot yet. But I think, what it highlights, by taking time to think about this and even write the letter to your dad, even if it's, you're clutching at straws to try and find those positive things, it's starting to really ingrain how you want to be when you get to that point, or even just how you want to be as a person in general, right? You get to highlight what you didn't like, what people could improve upon, so that when you, or if you ever get to that point, or you just want to implement that into who you are as an individual now, see, Andy, you can nail that, right? You can start learning those skills, because it just doesn't happen, right? We don't just click the fingers and all of a sudden we've got there. It's a work in progress. So by being prepared and being aware, we can start putting in the work, so that when the time comes, or whatever that looks like, we can crack in there. Does it make sense?
Yep.
And that's what, a lot of the weekly tasks are always going to be based around that, right? It's going to be based around, once again, helping you improve something in the 8 areas. Right, some weeks you might even just be hitting 10,000 steps a day, because most people don't do that. What's the benefit of that? Well, if you're walking a lot, you get to think a lot, but you're also benefiting your health. Cool. How do we go with the book? Obviously, we got 7 days left to finish Ego as Enemy. Let's have a discussion, and you can write in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. What have been the takeaways? I highlighted a shitload in that book. It's been an incredible one, and it's been a hard one for me to look at, because I realized my ego is bigger than I thought it was, which is a hard thing to accept. Does anyone want to?
I'll jump on and kind of share what I said in my little breakout group. I haven't actually read the book. or started it yet, just because I've been finishing off some other ones. But I'm definitely gonna purchase it this weekend and get stuck into it. But I actually read a book probably about 6 months ago, and it highlighted ego in one of the or over a few chapters, and it put me into check hugely back then, because I didn't realize how much my ego actually controlled how I conducted myself. Like, so many instances when I read the part about ego, just really like opened up a lot of the can of worms of, you know, the negativity that I was bringing in my life, in so many aspects of my life, and to so many situations, you know, whether it be my maturity around other blokes, or even in just group settings where I just let it control how I conducted myself. And after reading about it, it just pulled me back and put me in check so much. And I feel like I've definitely grown from it, but obviously it has nothing to do with that book as itself. But yeah, I definitely think reading something like that has done the exact same thing to me, and made me realize how big my ego actually was, and humbled me a lot.
Anyone else? Thanks, Tommy.
Yeah, I took away the like constant learning aspect of it, and like as I said, the same thing in our group. You know, like giving the real life examples of people who were at the top of their field and still sort of seeking advice and constant learning process, and how it sort of helped them sort of progress even further. That was a really, really good one. Yeah, that's probably like one of the biggest things I took away from it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a bit the same with the learning thing. And I was just thinking about, Lockie, one of your big things to seek to understand before you be understood. It's kind of like, well, if you've got a massive ego, you're never going to seek to understand anyone. You're always going to think that you're the one that knows everything, and so you kind of really got to put your ego away to be able to actually seek to understand everybody else or other people first, before you then seek to be understood.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Is anyone else? Jim, you were going to say something before, I thought.
It put me in check again and again. It didn't feel good most of the time. When I get to parts where I'm like, damn, that's exactly what I do, especially going off on people for menial things and just silly stuff. And it's weird because I caught myself doing it yesterday or last night. I went to the hardware store to buy some lumber and stuff, and went off on something just stupid. And then after they took care of what I needed, I apologized for what I did. I'm like, that's different behavior for me, to at least acknowledge it and then apologize for it and move forward, for it, not beat up on myself for it. So yeah, no, it's definitely getting me stopping and thinking, especially when I catch myself. So it's,
as Cal was saying with the whole be a student part, that was sort of the chapter that really stood out for me, because I always think a lot about like football players, and for those who play footy or rugby league over here in Australia, you'll always see them in the headline, and regardless of whether it's the media fucking capitalizing on that or not, it doesn't matter. But you see athletes, whether it's Andre Agassi, Tiger Woods, whatever, they all hit like this level of success and somehow fuck it up. Right. And tying back into what Ryan was saying in the book, be a student. But if you want to be great and then stay great, you got to really double down on being a student once you hit a higher level of success, because there's always people coming after you. And if you aren't being, if you get that level of ego behind you that you aren't prepared to look back and learn from people who are maybe trying to get to where you want to get to, you lose touch with what's coming, innovation and stuff like that. You just do what you've always done. And then, if you don't capitalize on working with people who are at the similar level to you, once again, you can't see your blind spots. And then if we're not looking forward to people who are better than us, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the same field, it's like, how do we ever progress ourselves? Wait, before Tommy goes, is Tommy there still?
Yeah.
Let's all get a selfie before everyone drops off, and then we'll crack on with this combo. Everyone's leaving us early today. Tobes, Mende, Joey, Andy, if you guys are there, would love to see your faces. If not, all good. Mate, we're good. Cool. Thanks, Steve.
See you, lads.
Mate, thanks for jumping
Have a
on.
good weekend.
Same to
See
you.
you, Tommy.
It's the importance of, really doubling down on that, because that's when we're fighting our ego the most. And that was probably one of the biggest things that slapped me in the face was, I think when I was coming out of my, and how he talks about your rock bottom point is different for everyone, but a lot of people need to experience that in order to go, fuck, I need to do something. Regardless of what that looks like for you, I just remember how hard I worked and how much I was asking questions and how much I was getting involved in things because I wanted to do more. And now I feel like I'm at a comfortable level in my life where that burning desire isn't there as much. And I still want it to be there. So then, it's for me that highlighted right. I really got to double down on becoming a student again. I got to actively seek out being in places where I feel uncomfortable, where I get challenged a lot. Right. So like jumping on here with you guys is fucking perfect for me. Right. But there's a lot of other places in my life where I don't get that. So rather than just going, this is cruisy, I love the attention. Siri, fuck off. All of that sort of stuff is I actively respond to that. He doesn't want to respond to me. Cheeky bugger. Is doing that. So that becoming a student and remaining a student is a massive one for me. And I think an action step I've taken from that, and I always think everything that we do should require some form of action step. So if you learn something or something that really sticks out for you or fucking annoys you, the question I always ask myself as a writer, how can I overcome that or how can I implement that? And for me, being the student, now that I'm doing like daily emails and stuff, I realize how poor I am at writing. I wouldn't, they're not very engaging. So I've just bought 3 fucking autobiographies for the intention of I need to read them to understand how people write about themselves or keep you engaged. Not because I really am interested in the story. I am interested in the stories, but it's more so the lesson. It's a different way of viewing written literature. So I highly encourage you guys from that, be the student thing. And obviously I'm talking about this because this is what stood out for me the most. Everyone has different things. Is every time you learn something's profound for you or something's challenging for you, try and work out what an action step could be to grow from it and give yourself a little task. So that's my sort of takeaway.
Real quick, Deadlocky, I just want to say, mate, I love the emails. I reckon they're bloody just awesome. Yeah, I was reading your one yesterday about how you had to talk to your friend's dad about marriage. And it's just really quick, to the point and simple. And then reading about your one the other day, I can't remember what it was, but yeah, they're bloody good. Yeah, there's good emails.
Appreciate it, mate. And that podcast with him will be epic as well. We've got a question here, or a statement maybe. It is impossible to learn that which one thinks one already knows. You can't learn if you think you already know. 100%. Anyone else here catch himself on a daily basis going, I already know that. I do it all the time. And as we'll call it Anonymous who wrote that, mentioned, is that's just the biggest, even if you think you already know, still be open to understanding it, because I'm lucky when I train Andy, and Andy and I have some really interesting conversations. And every time he speaks, it helps me articulate and understand things that I want to understand in a more profound way. Whereas I could be like, bro, I already know this. And I think all of us can do that in all instances. So thanks for writing that in. If anyone else has anything that they don't necessarily want to vocalize or points, just put them in the chat and I'll be your voice, just like David Attenborough or something. Anyone else have anything they want to throw in around what, how maybe the ego's impacted your life, how it may be holding you back?
When I say something like that, when I say I already know this, at that point, I'm not listening to the other person. At that point, I'm having a conversation with myself about what I already know about what they're already talking about. And it's completely wasting their time. I mean, and my own. And I think that's definitely my ego saying, yeah, all right, I got this. I already know what this is about. I don't need to hear their, what they think.
100%.
I have a
Yeah, but-
similar problem with that. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
No, go on, mate. You're right. You start.
I was gonna say I have a similar problem, but it's a bit of the opposite. Where I'll be like, if someone's telling me something, and in my head, like I'll probably say, like, "Oh yeah, I know that." Or if I don't know that, I'll be sitting there in my head like, "Fuck, you're an idiot. Why don't you know that? You're a fucking dumb piece of shit." Or they're going off explaining it or talking about whatever, and then I'm not even listening to them because I'm too busy beating myself up why I don't know that, why I shouldn't, like how I should know that. And that's something that I fucking have struggled with a lot in my adult years.
Mitchie, one thing to do with that, or here's two things that I've learned from something like that. Like, rather than beating yourself up, right in front of you, you have someone who knows what you potentially don't know and can learn. Right. So the power of going, awesome, I don't know this, but this person may, you can then use them as the first step to learn more. And then obviously you can go do your due diligence. Because what I've also found out is sometimes people think they know what they are talking about. And you equally will find out if you do the Chinese whispers things that is bullshit.
Yeah.
So make sure, you know, the beautiful thing is that if someone's talking and you go, I don't know, like let's talk about a barbecue surfer, right? You might be sipping on a few cold ones, cooking some steaks. And for me, when I was, you know, I stopped watching a heap of sport while I was trying to sort my life out. The boys were always talking about the footy teams and everything. Like, I had no idea what was going on. But I used to play fucking footy, so I should have. So that ego was there, like, oh yeah, I'll just go along with this, and I have no idea what's going on. Rather than going, boys, I have not watched a game or read anything about footy over the last 4 years. You've got to fill me in.
Yeah.
That way, it makes other people feel important as well, because then they get to teach. And it's just that whole overcoming the fear of looking dumb or whatever. But the moment that you can do that, we have the opportunity to learn a whole heap. Or once again, fact check it after that. Always do that.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because it gives the other person the opportunity to put some passion in their words and teach and tell you about it. Yeah.
100%. Cal, were you saying something, brother?
Yeah, there was a section in there, I don't know if it's been covered, but about letting things go, and like, not, you know, someone's trying to does something, you know, against you, or, you know, some, you know, just, and like responding in the way you respond to that, and just being able to sort of, you know, let things go. That was a massive one for me when I was listening to that. I was like, fuck yeah, like, because that's not something I've not traditionally been good at doing. Something does something wrong, like against me, I'm like, fuck this cunt, I'm gonna get it. So that was a big one. Yeah, it took a lot away from that point. That was like, I was driving, I was like, oh, and then just started thinking about all these things that, you know, there's been constantly playing on my mind about certain things, and just been able to sort of start being able to sort of drop them, I suppose. That was a massive one.
Yeah, awesome.
I reckon a really good thing to pair on the back of this conversation is how to catch ego in the moment. And I think how to catch ego in the moment is, it's mindfulness is really awesome to do that. And that's what I try and do quite a lot, is trying to be really mindful and have like particular things that I do when I notice that I'm in ego. And I think when I work on that, that's something that's really helpful. So whenever I'm kind of jumping into that ego space, I try and just come back to something in the room or something that I'm seeing, and I start identifying things in the room, like what I'm like feeling, what I'm smelling, all these types of things, just to bring me back and out of that kind of loop of ego. And then what I do after that, once I've done that in a conflict with someone, I actually then try and communicate in it's called non-violent communication, but it's a bit vulnerable, but it's a really good one to use, where you kind of express how you're feeling in a constructive way and acknowledge their needs as well. So that's something that I'm continuously working on to try and intercept it. Otherwise, if you don't do that, I've found myself in the past being in a lot of conflicts similar to what the guy said before. Yeah.
Great chat. Really good chat.
Lucky, I find with ego, maybe sometimes they can cause conflict between my wife and I, when I'm sort of like, why admit I'm wrong or something like that, you know, because the ego jumps in, and I realise I am wrong. I really need to apologise here and say, sorry, this is my fault. And and sometimes it, like your ego gets in your way and go, oh, no, I'm not going to say anything. Then it gets worse, and she gets angrier with you, and you go, look, listen, you fuckwit. I've fucked up here. I got to say I'm sorry, or I've got to do something to improve it. Even with this trip where I go up to Queensland, head up on Tuesday, and I've got 5 weeks away and 3 weeks with her in the car, and she's a cunt to travel with. She every 5 minutes be going, oh, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And I'm telling myself that I've got to really, try and be, not take that, not get shitty with that, and because she needs a break, she needs a good holiday as well. So I've got in my mind that I'm going to be positive every day and avoid conflict as much as I can, so she can have a good holiday as much as me.
That's it. I've been given a ton of advice, mate, now that I'm getting married, that every time you get in a disagreement, you just got to agree.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to do it, mate. Otherwise, they'll never forget. About 10 years down the track, you'll go, you remember that time you didn't hang your towel up off the floor in the bathroom? Oh, for fuck's sake.
Does anyone have anything else on that, gents? Otherwise, we'll quickly give you the finer details of moving forward.
Sorry, I think when egos, you're fighting with your own beliefs and values. That's essentially what you're doing when you're trying to be egotistical against somebody else. You're not fighting their beliefs. You're fighting your own beliefs. I think that's what's sort of the common theme that's come across. You've been taught a certain way to do stuff and to think a certain way. But when somebody's trying to tell you to think outside the box, so to speak, that's when it's conflicting. And that's when ego then goes, well, I'm not going to listen to you. I want to do it my way and my way only, my way or the highway. And I hate that everybody's put on this earth to learn. Everybody wants to be the chief. Everybody wants to be the teach, but nobody wants to be the student, because everybody wants to be better than everybody else.
100%.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I think that ties into a few people posted that in the group during the week that it we're brought up to, or especially now with like all those platforms, we want to, if you listen to a guy called I'll post it in the group, but he talks about from 2003 to 2008, the top things kids strived for was love and I can't remember the second thing. I redid the study in 2013, so 2013 to 2018, the number one thing kids were striving towards was fame and money. And like love and connection, even though it's a vital thing for all of us, it was ranked like, I'm pretty sure it was 17. I'll find the research when I post it, because I was like, fuck, blown, because social media, obviously, that's what we idolize now. That's where everyone gets their followers and their validation and significance. See you, Michael. We're going to wrap up in a second anyway. So it's an interesting thing to consider, and it's obviously redefining what success looks like to us and how to manage our ego through that. But gents, what we want to do, obviously this week, the goal is to finish that book so you can all get started on next month's book, which is The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, or Timothy Ferriss, if anyone's read that or hasn't read that. I haven't read it for about 8 years, so I'm excited to reread it. Now, this is obviously going to be going, it ties into our lifestyle pillar or area. Okay, and one of the tasks that we're going to have, it's going to be a monthly task, and I'll go into more detail and we'll get cracking on that on next week's call. But I wanted to tie it into COVID, right? Through COVID, a lot of people found themselves in a sticky situation because work was either, they were made redundant or they couldn't work for a fair bit of time, and the finances dried up. So I want to use this as a way as we can all collectively, you don't have to do it, but think about ways that if something like that were to happen again, we're going to utilize what we can learn from the 4-hour work week to build a plan for all of you guys as individual, whether it's to, build a part-time thing or create more time for yourself, certain things like that, which you'll pick up through the book, but that will be what we're focusing on for the whole month. So that by the end of the month, collectively as a group, there's a whole heap of options there. And whether you choose to explore that after is completely up to you, but it's just a good exercise to be aware of as well. Cool. So if you haven't already ordered the book, if you haven't seen it, it's in the group, but the 4-hour work week by Timothy Ferriss. This week's homework is to engage in Circle. So you're all on Circle. Yeah, everyone's officially on there now.
Yep.
So is to engage 5 minutes a day. Now, this is from a growth standpoint. There's a lot of people joining at the moment. So making sure if you just set a timer for 5 minutes, this is literally all I do. I go 10 minutes. So 10 minutes, and I'm going to spend the first 5 minutes just going through and responding to everyone who's taken the time to write something, because I believe, once again, you guys don't have to believe this, but if people are taking the time to share something, I value and trust you guys and appreciate you guys enough to want to learn from you guys. If it was in a different group, maybe not, but I value you guys as people. And then I also want to share one thing. Now, you guys don't have to share anything, but even if it's just a like to acknowledge that person for introducing themselves. Because we're really focused on building community. This is also the ability to contribute, to think outside ourselves in doing that. And if you do have stuff you want to share, a podcast, a video, even a funny fucking video, there's that random chat thread there as well where you can put dog videos in there. I don't mind. Just funny stuff to have a look, or something that's insightful to help. If it's helping you, it'll definitely help all of us. Cool. So that's going to be the weekly task that will be posted. Even if you just do it once, that's a tick in the box for you. The final thing is I'm going to give you a week for those who aren't on WhatsApp. Download WhatsApp, learn how to use it, because moving forward from here, all our monthly groups will be done on WhatsApp. Okay, I know, because I've got some of you guys on Facebook chats on, multiple different platforms, and it's confusing as all hell, as I'm sure it is for you. So that way, if you know everything for Inner Circle, until the chat feature gets upgraded in Circle, we'll be doing all our group stuff, and you'll be in your accountability groups on WhatsApp. Cool?
Yep.
Does everyone have WhatsApp?
Yeah. No.
Or if you don't, download it. And that way I can randomly call you guys as well, just to say good day. Awesome. All right, gents. Well, once again, I really appreciate your time. Thank you guys for showing up. Looking forward to kicking off a few new things next week with a bit more structure and intention, which is going to be epic. And I thank you guys for showing up.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good week.
Boys.
Cheers.